Thank you everyone for staying with us on TMI this very beautiful and promising Thursday. I'm joined by three gentlemen to help beat context and perspectives into our first discussion, which focuses on the state of security in Nigeria as it stands today. I'll begin from my immediate left. Matthias Obayoana is a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming to join us on the program. Good to see you. I think we're supposed to do this. Okay. Good to see you as always. Next to him is Tony Abolo, veteran journalist and the public affairs commentator. Thank you for coming to join us.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it.
Thanks.
We have, as always, Reverend Olu Martin, civil rights activist. Thank you as well. We appreciate you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Incidentally, I'm going to begin with you, Reverend Olu Martins. Insecurity in Nigeria as it stands right now. During the NSAS, for example, one of the highlights, so to speak, of that quote-unquote event was the series of jailbreaks that we saw. One would have thought that was the cap. I mean, it was never going to get worse than that. We probably were never going to experience jailbreak after that. But from the reports we get from Imo State right now, it appears factors responsible for the possibility of a jailbreak are still very much prevalent. What have been your thoughts since this incident in Imo State, Olu Martins?
Thank you very much, and let me thank the ITV crew but this program anchored by your very brilliant self for these very topical issues. I like to always quote Patrick Henry that says that the collective freedoms of a people cannot be guaranteed as long as the actions and inactions of government are shrouded in secrecy. So once the members of the fulcrum of the estate bring something to the bear, it becomes difficult for government to sweep it under the carpet, and by so doing we begin to find solutions towards it. So to that extent, let me appreciate this great platform. Secondly, let me also say that the enemy of nationhood is the state. What that means is that once the state cannot provide succor, people will naturally gravitate towards ethnicism. That's what's happening in Nigeria, because ordinarily when you go to other countries, people are proud just to identify with the national. I'm a Ghanaian, should suffice. But when you come to Nigeria, because the center has failed, people are more inclined to say, I'm a Benin man, I'm an Igbo man, all right? Since you cannot find succor, at the center, people treat you like a second-rate citizen. It looks as if Nigeria belongs to a set of people. And once that continues like that, my father used to tell me that when salt is too much in the soup, even a blind man is going to notice. So some of these things that we're seeing, the agitations we're seeing across board, including the jailbreak in Imo State, are tendencies of secession. People do not feel that they can express however they feel within the body politic of Nigeria, begin to find succor within, ethnicism, and it is pathetic, because I remember the Holy Book says that a time came when Israel had no king, and everybody did that which was right in their eyes. If you saw what transpired in Imo, you will just find out that if things like that continue, Nollywood is going to lose money, because you won't need to be watching Nollywood. When you just watch the things that happen in Nigeria, as incredulous as they seem, they are real. Because you start asking what happened to the police intelligence, because I'm told that the people even had some kind of solidarity rally at some square not too far from where they were going to. And to think that in Nigeria, a whole police station is sacked. A military booth is sacked. I mean, not at night, in broad daylight. So you can imagine the kind of arms and ammunition. And you ask yourself, how did those arms and ammunitions, get into Nigeria? So it's scary because it looks like on a daily basis the chicken, is coming home to us. Unfortunately, we at the general level are less agitated because it's looking like it's a normal thing. You know how it is in this country now. Well, it's one of those things, and then because it's not happening, to you, it's not happening to somebody that it becomes one of those normal things. And then what do you hear? Well, on top of it, the IG has sent a detachment of police, and then after 1 or 2 days, or at best 1 or 2 weeks, life goes back to normal until another set of people do something that causes some furor, and then it becomes headline news, and then we have this discussion, and it just looks as if we just go around, in circles.
I'm going to get back to
Nigeria, it's precarious. This is not one of the happy times to be a Nigerian. And what is even saddening is that the dimension seems to be increasing on a daily basis. What you hear next week, you can't tell what you hear
I think dimension is a very critical angle to this conversation, obviously. But I want to talk to Antonio Ambolo now. You mentioned intelligence just a while ago. The outgone IGP, Mr. Adamu, has said, look, the IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra, they are the ones responsible for this dastardly act. Some person said, hold on a second. I mean, the IG or the former IG now got ahead of himself when he said that, because they were questioning the authenticity, the integrity of the intel, which probably served as the basis on which he made that pronouncement. What have been your sentiments about that position?
Well, if let's first of all give it to him. If he said that that was his information, and that is on the basis of that, he now said that it was IPOP that was behind the mayhem. At least that was the headline we saw, mayhem in a way.
Right.
Fine. In truth, it's a push and pull effect thing. How come they had such an intelligence and they didn't act to break it up so that it doesn't ferment and doesn't become like Olu Martins was saying? I mean, it's just increasing in its scope in this country. It is sad that that is what happens. There's not an effective intelligence gathering. But then I don't know whether we can look at what is happening in Owerri in isolation. I mean, all over the country. I mean, are we different from Guatemala or Honduras or Mexico? I mean, it's a shame that this is where the country has come to be. Are we building a nation? Because if you are building a nation, you build it with love. And people tend to forget. I want to take all of us back to a statement that Buhari made about 6 years ago, when he said, do they expect him to reward those who gave him 5% vote as opposed to the 95%? And remember, his Fulani-ness has showed up, because it is like a Fulani, they say, never forgets. And how do you treat these people continually this way? So the way you are handling them does not show that you were going at any point to let up and then begin to show love and again go to an essential thing to do. If you're the president, we talk about nation building. Are we building a nation? What are the people? Who are those even in the whole Southeast that are people who can be spokesmen, who can speak and let the people hear? You expect the governors to speak, they're not speaking. They're not saying anything that is intelligent. You're not hearing anybody in any part of the country. Even here in Edo State, what are the leaders? In Yoruba land, what are the leaders? Well, of course, the North has got itself so organized, at least some group, not exactly entirely the North. But so you want to see if there are people who are core leaders who should be able to speak to the center and tell them, back up, back out, and so give the people a bit of a break. Because when he said he had that information, it is not going to attack them, but to assuage them and see how you can bring about peace. So we are continually expanding this crisis of this nation till everybody's feeling, oh, we're about to get to the end. I mean, do nothing, but let's all crumble and splinter. That's where we're heading to. And we're only waiting for the time. It's not a question of when, no, but or how, but we're all expecting it just to happen. And that is not a very pleasant thought.
Now you've just established a very interesting trajectory. I mean, the outgone IG said, Obayuwana, that this mayhem, as he called it, was, I mean, he had attributed it to IPOP. But the government of the state, the man who should, as we say, be the chief security officer of that state, Senator Hope Uzodinma, is now saying that, look, politicians instigated these incidents. So how do we make sense of this kind of divergence?
Well, it's quite unfortunate. I would rather not say whether the opposition was hasty, that IPOB were responsible. IPOB, I think they are denying.
Yes, vehemently.
Yeah, that they are not responsible for that. Now, Uzodinma is saying some other person, politicians instigated whatever happened, whichever way it comes. If there were intelligence intel that such a thing was going to happen, what was the proactive step taken by the IGP and all the security network to ensure that such thing does not happen? So it's a case of self-indictment on their part. They're just sitting down there pointing fingers, the blame game stuff that the government has been engaging itself in all this while when they came to power. Oh, this vote together, because go for the ad, other one go for the ad. You will not contribute on your own. You will not do your own part in the game. What has happened in Imo State is just the body language giving expression to by the federal government. In the northeast, in north central and northeast, we can find Boko Haram. In fact, whenever anything has happened, they say armed bandits. Then they say we should not call the Fulani herdsmen. So each time it happens, sometimes like Benue State, Autumn has complained severally. Before any attack, they always get information and they pass it on security agency. Please, they are planning to come and attack us, do something about it. Nothing is done. Sometimes they even withdraw security,
from those hotspots or those flashpoints.
And then after it has happened, they start to react. Oh, why they happen? Let us go after them. In all of these happenings in the northeast and Benue and other area where the Boko Haram or bandits or Fulani heads, whatever they want to call them, like attacking people, what has the government done about it? What practice step did they take? What other step did they also take to serve as a deterrent, to punish those, to apprehend those who have done the act and punish them? So nothing is happening. So as far as the Imo people may be concerned, if it's happening in northeast and north central by Fulani, Boko Haram, bandits, whatever name you classify them to be, and nothing is happening, then we can also do our own here, and nothing will happen. So they went all out to delude their people. If I thought it was IPOB, though they are denied.
For instance.
Yes, for instance. So, and now you are not crying foul. Oh, it must be this, it must be that. If you are taking solid steps to ensure that when it happened the first time, you try to nip it in the bud, you punish offenders, it will be a deterrent to others. Since they are not doing it, they are just relaxing, and they are taking us back to the Obesian state of nature, where man enforces their own right by themselves. That is where we find ourselves. The social contract that was entered into by the people, by donating our right to the government to say, you watch over us, and then by the constitution that was giving life to, which gives authority to the people, said security and welfare of the people shall be your primary purpose. So as government will not be failing successively in this issue of lack of security for people, which is the primary purpose of being in government. So having now figured, then you now sit back the people to point fingers at others, blaming people for this, blaming others for that. So for me, it's a case of serious self-indictment on behalf of the IGP.
I want to talk to Olumates quickly, so I get back to you in a bit. I mean, for months on end here, we talked about whether or not the service chiefs should be replaced. For the most part, people said, look, these guys had overstayed their welcome, for want of better words. And then the president heeded our call at the point, he replaced them. Has there been any significant improvement, Olumartin? So are we saying, well, it's too early to, as somebody said, quote unquote, call results?
I mean, I still can't travel to certain parts of this country. I still am apprehensive trying to drive down to Ekpoma. Ekpoma just there, I still am apprehensive about it. Even going by road to quote unquote safer places like Lagos, I still am a bit apprehensive about it. So these days when you call people who have traveled long distances, the call is not whether the driver drove well or the safety of the vehicle. The call is, I hope you didn't meet anybody on the road. I hope that you were able to go safely. So the testimonies for us as pastors used to be that I traveled, there was no accident, you know, the car didn't break down. Those were the testimonies. But the testimonies these days is that I traveled and I was not there was no kidnap, there was no nobody waylaid you on the road. Now, the service chiefs, changing of the service chiefs isn't going to make any fundamental difference. I've said it again and again and again. First of all, is that the president of Nigeria, for all intent and purposes, is the most powerful president in any country in the world. When people say the American president, maybe by the resources available to the American president, but by control of the system, Nigerian president is more powerful than the American president, who appoints everybody, maybe including his son's wife. That's how powerful a Nigerian president can be. He's the commander-in-chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And then his body language matters a great deal. So even if you appoint somebody else, it's like that senior brother you have at home who is quote and unquote, very harsh. Anytime he comes home, everybody will take dressing. The miniskirts will disappear. The makeups and the excessive dress, everybody comes home early. Why? Because when that guy is around, he is a no-nonsense guy. But by the time he leaves, you have a little bit of a lethargic father who allows anything go, you know, right? So all that the father can do is, if the father puts his leg down tomorrow and says that that son cannot come and throw his weight around the way he does, then the younger ones are going to be emboldened to live the kind of life that they want to live. So change service chiefs on a weekly basis, as long as it seems, because these days what we hear is not the president. What we hear in this country is the presidency.
So I will probably get back to the, in the words of some persons who were in former President Jonathan's government, a cabal kind of system.
Oh, no, but that's where we have always been. Unfortunately, Jonathan's cabal was more coordinated, because sometimes in this cabal you hear discordant tunes. The Minister of Information is saying somebody else, is saying something else. Shehu Gaba is saying something else. Femi Adesina is saying something else. Anoche is saying something else. So it looks like even during Jonathan's time, the cabal, you know, was more coordinated. In this particular instance, it doesn't look like there is a central figure that is even having meeting with the cabal in quote. It just looks like some persons at the federal level, at the presidency, have become, if you like to say, the president themselves, and have their own private, you know, cabal. And whatever they say, as long as that, you know, private, as long as they are more in number, that's what is going to, you know, happen. So change service chiefs as often as you want. Once it looks like this is what the president likes, you know, in this country, not just the president, the governor. If the governor doesn't greet you well, maybe you stretch your hand and he doesn't greet you, the DSS will remove you from that office. He doesn't need to say anything. If it's a hall, you just wanted to greet, and the governor just looked at you and says, and maybe just carries his face away. One of the quote and unquote the Ogbeweje of the governor can slap you there, because the governor has demonstrated that he doesn't like you. So if the president of Nigeria shows for any reason that this is where he has his preferences, natural, he's the one who appoints, he's the one who hires, he's the one who fires by just a handwriting. We had in the days of Abacha that the president can ask the CBN governor to bring as much as $1 billion by a note, and it hasn't changed much. If you look at some of the things that are happening, I'm sure we'll probably get into it. It hasn't changed. So if you have that kind of powerful president who by tomorrow, the IG of the just retired IG of police had retired some time back. The president, Suomoto, extended his tenure by 3 months against the popular arguments of, you know, people like Obayowana. And the constitution does not provide for such things. The president still went ahead to do it, and again and again and again, the presidency has shown that it doesn't care what you and I think. It doesn't care what the law says, and that as far as the presidency is concerned, it will do and undo. Unfortunately, when you have a service chief in the corrupt system, where you have porous value systems, when he comes in, he's thinking about lining his pocket. He's thinking about how does he secure his future and the future of his children. He's not likely going to do anything against the body language of the president, or in this particular case, the presidency, and indeed the cabal. I don't see any chief of army staff who will do differently from what the president wants done, presidency and the president wants done. I don't see any chief of general staff, you know, that will so do. So the buck at the end of the day still lies in the table of the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Let's begin to wind down this first discussion, gentlemen. I want to go back to Tony Abolo right now. It's hard not to think about 2023 every time you talk about insecurity in this country, especially given the recent dimensions that we are beginning to see apparently. Politicians themselves are even now putting a very clean spin on it, saying, look, this thing is tied to 2023. In fact, there are people who have vested interest in 2023. Somebody also had said on this program that some persons might not even live up to 2023. But then again, it is a fact in front of us that many persons are already strategizing towards 2023. So it appears, they say, most politicians don't care what happens to people today. What matters to them is what they see right in front of them. And for many politicians in Nigeria today, 2023 is the biggest event in the world right now. how do we prioritize the issue of security beyond 2023?
Well, a bit like what Reverend Olu Martins was talking about, it boils down to leadership. How do we make this country stable, constant, and we trust that we can be there? I mean, it's like, to borrow the language of accountants, an ongoing concern. That's how you do business, because you believe that in another 100 years it will be there. Can Nigeria be an ongoing concern? But those who seem to be there now are not interested. They're even themselves playing games. This is also seeding into the instability of the nation, because they seem to be interested who holds power in 2023. I mean, all sorts of speculations, from the bizarre to the mundane. Some are even saying that we may not even have elections, and therefore there may be a proroguement of this power that we are having now, which means it can continue. And the way things are in this country, who is going to stop it? Because that's the way we have shaped the law and behavior. So we're not sure. So because of that, other people are also agitating at their own end. If he continues, that means I don't have a chance. And of course, we know that Asiwaju is there, mostly. Atiku is somewhere, mostly. Then there are the new talks on the ground who think that, well, let the old order move away and let's create a new order. So you see, the entire country is filled with instability. And that is all about the insecurity too that we're having. Now, like what I was saying, I mean, it's self-help. If you're doing something in the north and you can go scot-free, then why can't I do something in a way and go scot-free? So everybody, there's total breakdown of law and order. That is clear fact. And like I did say a short while ago, what are the voices of leadership that can bring stability to the system? None whatsoever. I mean, and it's so painful. We're not talking about a president. We're talking about presidency. I mean, it's a shame. What is called presidency? Presidency, yes, it's a concept. But then you are not run by presidency. You are run by at least that's the system we are put on the ground, a president. But there's no such thing. And governors don't seem to be handling anything. And we are rather very helpless. All of us are very helpless. It's like an aircraft just falling from space. No button you can touch. Nothing can bring the aircraft to an even keel and let it come down gradually. That's where we are. It's sad. And so there is this interplay between insecurity, the behavior from the center, the behavior back, the supremacist group, because there is a supremacist group that is fighting to have the soul of this country and want to dictate the direction of this country. It's a pity. And I just wish we, especially in the South, can wake up and say to ourselves, hell no. For once, let's stop it. Because ideally, people are even saying, the better way to solve this problem is let's restructure. It is the only sane thing to do, so that we don't break into unnecessary pieces, so that you take your little bit, or we discuss confederation. We're back to, you see, Nigerian history. We haven't left where we were pre-1960. Here in Edo State, I recall in the day when before they went to Aburi, what was the position of Chief Anthony Nahuru? The position of Midwest was confederation. That was the position we took over how many years ago? And here we are. We didn't do confederation. We're arguing about restructuring so that at least we can have some bit of sensible order. You take your little bit. Some studies have been done from the University of Benin in the engineering department many years ago that Nigerians are not good at large-scale systems. I repeat it, Nigerians are not good at large-scale systems. You can't say Abuja run Nigeria. We don't have the energy nor the intellect to do it. So give me my little piece and let me run the little piece sensibly.
On a micro level.
On a micro level. And that's what federalism is all about. So that you take your little piece, you manage it as efficiently as you can. And if we do that, we won't have this mayhem.
Okay, great. Let's hope that happens as quickly as possible. But it's a bit scary that we don't have the bandwidth to deal with issues on a big scale. But we have a new IG now. Some persons have said there's going to be a new order in the police. Because when you talk about insecurity, the first port of call ideally should be the police, not even the army. But because we're dealing with several peculiarities regarding insecurity, the first port of call incidentally now becomes the army, for instance. Do you see all of this, even though we know the IG is in acting capacity as it stands right now, do you see any change, a meaningful change coming into the policing system in this country?
Not at all. You can't keep doing things the same way and expect a different result. It's the same system. An IG tenure was extended
By the president?
By the president.
The man who hired him?
Yes, against the position of the law. And the NBA went to court to challenge that. Why are you doing this? Then maybe you have seen the fate of that case, and then perhaps you had a turnaround, and you picked another person from the same north to replace him in another capacity. Then you have not, the dynamics, the security architecture has not been changed. We have been calling for issue of restructuring. You said the governor is the chief security officer of the state,
right,
and the governor has no authority to command commissioner of police to act in a particular way. They take orders from the center. Is that a federation? If you are a federal republic of Nigeria, the basis must be put in place to ensure that the full powers are given to the security officer of the state, which is the governor, to ensure that they are in full control of resources, of security, everything. So that is not in place, and that has been the major problem. So all this call or agitation, whether by IPOB, whichever regions that you're talking about, they are legitimate calls. I keep talking about issue of sovereignty, which resides in the people.
Right. People
are telling you that yes, we donate our power to you on a social contract so that we'll leave the operational state of nature. Now, I'm not giving you this power. The way you are running, we don't like it. We want to take it back.
Let's have a conversation.
Yes, you say you will not. That the division of Nigeria is not negotiable. I'm not saying divide Nigeria. You're still restructure the country. Let there be a true federation like we have in America and Canada confederation, where every segment will be allowed to develop at their own pace.
Right.
And then we cannot relate. But no, you want to federalize the entire country. Every man you are brought to be in any sensitive position, from your kinsman. And then you are expecting Nigeria, other parts of Nigeria to be happy with that. They say, no, allow restructuring. Let this thing run down. Look at the issue of judicial staff now. You can find that the judicial staff, they are on strike. What is the issue they are on strike for? They are simply asking
autonomy.
To allow the autonomy to be given to the judiciary. Allow money from the center to flow directly to the coffers of the heads of court, so they cannot take control of the judicial system and bring necessary reform. It is there in the constitution. So the clear constitutional breaches, you close your eyes to it, you refuse to give credence to that. They went to court, got an order to say yes, they are entitled to this money directly from source. You refuse to obey. And now they are on the table discussing, before now they say they are going on strike, nationwide strike. Even though some states,
including Edo, for instance.
So now the nationwide strike now for JUSU, because you are not following what you're supposed to follow, and yet we say we have a presidency or a president. So if you have a CNC, who should ensure that the party is done, other things will fall in place. So the man is still there, sitting down there. The man they have appointed will not do beyond the appointer. The man I told you this is what I want to do. If they are born anything in a Benue state, in a Edo state, and certain persons have been finger, maybe for any expert, whatever, just close your eyes. If it's going to be done by IPOB, please be on full alert and crush them. So you are giving that body language, they know what to do. If you can't, if you're any expert, you have done XYZ, it's who is the master, don't mind, that's how they used to behave. Matter rest, nobody's arrested. Who does that? IPOB, they are carrying flags. Oh, they're not, they move from flags to guns. I've crushed them down. I'm sure the entire artillery will move to Imo State to crush them down. So it is the body language of the presidency. It must be altruistic, it must be patriotic enough to ensure that it's not the president of a segment of this.
The president of Nigeria. Okay, let's move to our second discussion quickly, gentlemen. I'd love to begin with Olu Martins. Abubakar Malami SN, AGF and Minister of Justice, has made the news severally in recent years, most times for controversial reasons. This time, it probably doesn't get any more controversial. He has been fingered by what Premium Times has called an authoritative report, investigative report on certain monies totaling $418 million. By some estimates, they say is now about 159 billion naira that he had approved to be paid to certain quote-unquote contractors and consultants. They say the consultants had been involved in negotiating some refund as it has to do with the Paris Club debts issue. And then for the contractors, they had executed certain contracts which obviously do not have specifics on behalf of some states and some 774 local governments across this country. We are told that the EFCC had even sent a kind of reports to the AGF to say, look, these payments are not justifiable, at least the larger parts of these payments are not justifiable, and as such they advise the AGF to back off. And then now we are now told even the Chief of Staff of the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, and the current Minister of Finance is also involved in this whole process of making these payments to these contractors and consultants. What is even interesting is the fact that we are told in January, the President, not the Presidency, the President himself had warned that this payment should be suspended going forward. But as it stands today, Premium Times is saying that the office of the AGF has insisted and continued to make these payments. What does this say about due process? I mean, this is the office of the AGF we're talking about.
Well, if the AGF were listening to me now, I probably have said, Abubakar Malami, Abubakar Malami, how many times did I call you? You know, that's when our parents want to talk to, that's what they will do. Right. In fact, without them saying anything, by the time they call your name 3 times,
you listen.
Yeah, you just know that you need to be warned. It was the same Abubakar Malami that said that the money belonging to Delta State was going to be, purportedly stolen by the former governor of Delta State, James Onanefe Ibori, was going to be appropriated by the federal government. I've never heard that. Our friend, the barrister, is talking about federalism. The money was stolen from a unit, and then the money is retrieved. You didn't give it back to the unit.
But to use your word, that unit had also said no money was missing in their state.
But eventually, it is possible. I mean, you know, we're talking about between politics and legality. Yeah. The bringing the money back is legal.
Right.
A process was done. So it is possible that perhaps I have too much money, and then maybe because I haven't taken note of what I have in my pocket, I didn't take note of the fact that 2,000 naira was missing. It's just like a joke that they say, you know, somebody is in church and then the offering buckets go around and then he puts 100 naira. Just then the guy sitting behind him, you know, gives him 3,000 naira. I say, thank you. I put it in the offering bucket.
No, it was his money.
Then the guy whispers to him, I say, next time be careful, because it was actually your money, you know, that fell, all right? So how does the guy call the offering bucket back to say, please give me my money?
No retrieval system.
You know, there's no retrieval, because even when you now, you know, bring the offering bucket, how do you identify your own 3,000 naira from the money that other people, you know, have put in there? But that's the kind of system that we have. And it shows that you have a weak center. I will never forget the story of Absalom and David. David gives specific instruction that his renegade son Absalom consistently violates. It gets to the point that Absalom convinces everybody that he is the authentic king. You know what David does? David packs his things and leaves, because Absalom had divided the thing into. Now there were 2 kings. Absalom, his son, who was doing things. I mean, sometimes the king will speak openly. They said the king should not do this. Who will say, I mean, who is the king? The king doesn't know what he is talking about, and he does the opposite. After a while, people began to say, "Be like say this Absalom. Be like say he even get power past, you know, the king." And then, especially the younger guys began to attach themselves to Absalom. The guy felt strong.
iPads generation.
Yeah, and the guy felt strong enough to say, you know what, I have enough following to take over this government. Because that's what the Attorney General, and that's why people have argued that the office of the Minister of Justice and the Attorney General of the Federation should be 2 different things entirely.
Decentralized.
How do you have the Chief Law Officer, who is a politician, the Chief Law Officer, who is a party member, Minister of Information, that's fine, but Attorney General, he is the one who can tell any of the agency who to pursue, who to prosecute. He is now a card-carrying member of a political party who has very deep interest, and then his interests are now influenced by people who are also members of his party. The monies, for instance, And of course, when donor agencies give you money, they don't just give you money. All donor agencies, the money they give to you are tied to projects.
Obviously.
So the Paris Club were tied to projects at the 774 local government and states. Some guys, yes, were giving contracts, jobs to run certain, contracts. The guys themselves have admitted that what they have been able to touch is 23%.
So far.
So far. A whole lot of it has not even been in touch. Then you have another 26% that is almost moribund, and there's nothing that they're doing about it. The Attorney General, who is not one of the contractors, who is not the governor of his state, who didn't receive any of the funding, says that indeed these guys, 6 of them, have executed jobs, and those jobs are satisfactory, and as such they should be paid XYZ amount of money. The Algon national president,
yes,
in 2 instances has written to say, look, yes, we gave these guys jobs, but many of the jobs are on top. Okay, you know what? Can we have specifics? Since you say they should be paid, what jobs have they concluded on? Why they should be paid? You know, when I read it, I'm wanting to say, I had to pinch myself. Say, am I in the matrix, or is this, the real world? And then the all attempts by Kayode Fayemi to say, look, these monies belong to us. You can't just...
As the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum.
It's sickening. You can't just take money appropriated to us, and then you, at the federal level, you say you want to do statutory deductions.
From source.
From source. For 10 years, my money is just like somebody coming to say, I bought a pair of shoes from him, and I have not paid for the pair, of shoes. And I'm asking to say, okay, well, I haven't received the shoes. When did I buy the shoes? No.
Meanwhile, he's collecting money from your account steadily.
Yes, collecting monies, from it's like a bank come to say they are deducting money from my account for bank bulletin that I don't receive. And but we deliver it to you. Why don't they receive it? And you are deducting money from my account. That is the audacity of Abubakar Malami, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. That's audacity. But does it come as a surprise? The IG of police was ordered to be, was he in Benue? The former IG. He didn't go. And clearly he didn't go. You would have thought that something would have happened. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes, once judgment against an evil act is not executed speedily, the heart of men is set to do evil. If the IG of police can violate a directive from Mr. President and he doesn't go, and nothing happens to him, instead he is rewarded with an extension of his tenure, in spite of the hue and cry against the service chief after serving an embarrassing 5 years. They are rewarded with ambassadorial positions. So in fact, Malami is telling himself that the more he violates such directives of the president, that is how they will even know that he is a strong man protecting,
I'm going to let you catch your breath.
Now you can imagine how other nations of the world will see us, because we are not the only recipients of the Paris funds. There are developing nations who are recipients of the Paris funds, and then we proudly say that we are the giants of Africa. Indeed, we are perhaps also giants in corruption.
We're going to talk about this issue. The angle of corruption that you just mentioned in passing. But let me talk to Tony Ebola about this. You come with decades of experience as a journalist. Premium Times has established itself as a credible source of information for things like this. So most Nigerians who follow Premium Times' stories don't take them lightly. But again, going by what Olu Martins just said a while ago, it appears we're having a deep state situation in Nigeria.
Absolutely. It's sordid, the way things are, and it's becoming a way of life. There is no integrity, no decency anymore. And you know, when it comes to value system, the kind of values you have in the political elite or the top elite in a society, it has a way of cascading right down. And what you have is, we have now made corruption a way of life, and as if there's nothing else better to do than to be corrupt. And so you find the AGM that we're talking about, just a law unto himself. I mean, he's a lawyer, the number one law officer in the country, and he's a law unto himself. You can imagine that if the presidency can arrogate certain powers to itself, and an appointee of that presidency is behaving exactly the way Malami is doing, you begin to shudder. I mean, what sort of a system are we running where you are now using, call it boldface, to take other people's money? Because that's what it is. You're intimidating the system. What legacy are you leaving? What are you telling people? That this is the way I want it done? You are the one? After a governor of a state, back again to this issue we're discussing, because the two things seem intertwined about the breakdown of federalism. Otherwise, how can Fayemi tell you as a governor and the chairman of the governors forum telling you that this money belongs to us? Nobody has told you this is the way it ought to be, and you are not listening. All you want to do is what is in your mind. There are certain ethnic behavior we must all begin to understand. There is a way they behave, that particular ethnic group. They are arrogant, disobedient, impunity is their way of life, and what they want to do is what they want to. They write their own constitution and follow it. You don't see it. It's not written in the Quran, nor written in the Bible, nor written anywhere. It's what they have written. It's what they have written. What Dixit. What I've said, what I've written. What I've said is what I've written. And so that's how they are behaving. And so it is sad that the AGF, whether in any case we want to separate the thing, it is an error. And again, the lawyers will take them to court. And he does not seem to want to listen to that. So when you can't obey even the courts, and you can't obey the law, then the famous Hobbesian theory is all played off. We're just back to just state of nature, doing as we like. And that's why everybody's behaving just as they like in the country. So there's no law and order.
Obviously, going forward, we must find a way to bring some sanity into this system. But incidentally, the man we're discussing here is your senior colleague. And we've talked about that office.
Who knows whether he's going to get part of the contract money?
We've talked about that office here before, how that the office is very powerful, how that some lawyers are saying we need to break it up, and so on and so forth. But let's look at how that the man has also come out to say, look, this is the true position of this matter. Many persons are being dragged into the matter now, including Professor Ibrahim Gambari, Minister of Finance, is also being dragged into the matter. The CBN, because the report is saying that, quote and unquote, the AGF forced the CBN to start implementing these payments on a monthly basis. That's on the one hand. And then you now have the man himself coming out to say, this is not exactly what happened. But we know when Premium Times also did a report about Kemi Adeosun in this country just about 3 years ago, for example, that led to ultimately the resignation of that woman from office. Of course, people have said that was the honorable thing to do. But I'll ask you a quick question. So people are now saying, hold on a second, is the Minister of Justice the president's lawyer, or does it represent the interest of the country? Can we not just do, as it were, establish a disparity between both?
Yes. That's what makes it different. You can see what happened in America when Donald Trump was misbehaving, I'm going to use that word, going against consumer tenants. And severally, the matter was taken to court, and the Attorney General came out to come against some of those policies that he was bringing.
Even though he was appointed by the same president.
That was unconstitutional. So that is how an Attorney General should behave. You are not there, that's the call for that office will be separated. The Commissioner for Justice and the Attorney General of the Federation.
Okay, that's Minister of Justice and AGF.
They should separate that office so that if you are an AGF, an Attorney General of the Federation, you are not just an Attorney General to the President who appointed you, of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So it is the interest of the country collectively that will be your focus. The Constitution is your guide. So if the president who appointed you, or if you came by election, or whatever means that you got in there, if the president has done anything contrary to the Constitution, you should be quick to raise the red flag. What you have done is wrong. You must undo it. So you must not, begin to blindfold yourself. Begin to allow things to happen and pretend that you are not there. That is what is lacking in this situation. The AGF appear to be, taken by sentiment. But even in this case, for me, it's beyond sentiment, because from the report, the presidency or the president has given directive that do not deduct this money.
That was almost 3 months ago.
Yes, do not deduct this money. What is the question here? The Paris Fund issue, monies were deducted from the account of the states, you know, to pay those debts.
Yes.
And then they have to say, look, you overdid this money, please return some part to us. And then certain persons were contracted to ensure that money...
To help midwife the process.
Exactly. Which is another issue that we fought because we are running a requirement of contracts, of contractors. If you are elected into office, you have an attorney of the various states. You have a commissioner for finance of the various states.
Right.
And all of that. Where there are issues of this nature, that the state they say, look, you took my money, federal, you took my money. Please, this money that you took, return it back. You refuse to return it back. The attorney of the state should be able to step into that matter to ensure that money is
on behalf of his state.
On behalf of the state. Why would you not go and hire a contractor to do that for you? That's another issue on one side. Now they hire a contractor to help us get this money back from the federal government. Now the money was to be brought back, and then in anticipation of the money being brought back, the Argons also hire a contractor. Okay, well, come and do some project in our various local governments. Then we'll not pay you from that money. You have not asked the people whether that's actually what they wanted. They wanted to put borehole. Was that actually what they wanted? You didn't inform to the people to ask them if that was actually what they wanted for their local government. But yet, whoever was in charge said, okay, we are giving this contract to you to do XYZ in anticipation of the money being brought. Now the money is back. The people now say, we have done this contract for you. We want to be paid. They went to court. That's an interesting aspect of it. They went to court to get judgments against the local government and the state to say this money that we enter contract with you should be paid back to us. Some of those matters that went to court, whether it was by collusion, whatever means, the agency that gave them the contract, some consented to the judgment, some didn't even defend it at all, and they got several judgment. Right. Which judgment they are brought to the table of the AGF? There's a judgment before me that the government and the state are indebted to these contractors for a certain job that have been done. So now, they can see how soon that this money should be taken. Now, other UCBN, they move their money from source to settle these persons. And the government they are saying, look, with this man you are talking about, he did not
do any project. So what are we paying him for?
What are we paying for? But again, where were they when the matter was ongoing in court? Why have they not challenged that decision in court to say, look, this man is not trying to do this contract? If you enter a consent judgment, that judgment can be appealed against and on grounds of fraud. Like that consent judgment was entered by fraud, either by collusion or whatever means. Why have they not done anything but to go to the court to ask that the judgment be set aside? That this money was talking about, this money is not trying to do this contract. Let's look at the books. Whoever went to court with him, we have colluded. They have been silent on that. But the AGM said, look, there's judgment on my table to enforce. And that's in enforcing that judgment and giving directive that this money be paid. The governors forum,
led by Mr. Kayode Fayemi,
he said, look, no, don't pay this money to them because this person you are talking about, they don't even work for us. If you check the records, his name did not even appear as those who assisted us to get this money back. The local government people are saying, look, this contract that talking about a borehole in the local, come and check. There is no borehole here. They say admitted, we only did 23%. So what was that the basis? If these facts are coming up now, what was the basis for the court giving judgment in their favor to say, well, this money you actually indebted to this man, to the contractors, please go and pay them? If they themselves are admitting that they have not done the job, will the court open his eyes and say, and award judgment for work not done? There were some other persons some other contractors who said they pressurized certain judges to reverse and serve on certain judgment that was also given, that money would have been more than that, and all of that. On what basis did you pressurize the judge to reverse itself? It's not management of a case of corruption in itself.
As it stands right now, it's a potpourri of many controversies.
Exactly, so many controversies. So for the AGA to now begin to sit back, and there are red flags raised already on these issues, you refuse to allow the matter to be looked into to ensure that proper thing is done. We are in a hurry to pay. It suggests that perhaps there are some pecuniary benefit that he wants to get. Otherwise, there are several judgments that are pending before the AGF.
Maybe more pressing, way more pressing than this one.
More pressing. Individuals whose rights were violated at the time. If you follow here, I was assaulted by the military at the time, and I took them to court. I got judgment against them for 3.5 million. We tried to get them to enforce the judgment. We wrote to the AGF. We wrote to several agencies. They didn't do anything about the matter. The matter kept going on until finally the officers, we came up to settlement of the issue out of court, and then the judgment debt was renegotiated. They paid some part and let go of some other part. That's how it was resolved. The AGF did nothing to ensure that money is paid quickly. There are several other judgment pending on this table. What has it done to ensure that these people are paid quickly? What's so much interest in this one? Even the one of the AGF, the one of the JUSU, who also went to court to say deduct the money for the judiciary as source. Right. For the one that is supposed to pay to the state governors, as such, and give it to the heads of court. The judgment is also, I believe, is also on the table. What has it done about that? Then they are going to strike now because that judgment is not being enforced. They are not giving any legal backing, no bite to that judgment, no enforcement. You have done nothing. So what is the interest in your hurry to ensure that these contractors are hurriedly giving this money when the people that they claim to have worked for said they didn't work for us, and they have also honored that yes, we didn't actually perform this contract fully. So what is the best? So it's an issue of corruption, being brought to bear. If you follow at a point, the same Malami accused the former EFCC boss.
Yes, Ibrahim Magu.
Magu, that money that you recover from looted funds
could not be accounted for.
Could not be accounted for. You looted some of those funds. You bought it for yourself and all of that. As we speak today, as Magu be found discharged for that offense, as property be seized, as it be dealt with. So it's just a government, that people just like to do whatever they like. The president is not doing anything about the matter. So
I'm afraid
that the AGF is not taking the presidency seriously.
I'm afraid, and that's not a good thing, really. Yes, because there should be some authority that come with whether the president or the presidency.
But just a point of information. One, you know that Malami was a personal lawyer to Buhari while he was struggling through these years to become the president.
Okay.
And I like
prior to 2015.
Yeah.
Yes. He was his personal lawyer. It was a reward. That's how I got to my appointed as the Attorney General. Well, that may be, and that's why he has it in his head that it's like, who is the president? Now my friend now my personal person. So he does what he likes based on that boy basis. Secondly, I think I recall there was an executive order signed by Buhari himself, giving autonomy to the judiciary and to the legislatures. None is being upheld. So what are we talking about? Then thirdly, if this country really meant to fight corruption, how can the Attorney General of the Federation be the one to be involved in these seedy matters that people are making insinuations and making reports about wrongdoings and talking about corruption? He ought to be the one who ought to be thrown out of office.
I'm just going to give Reverend Lumatis 1 minute because we are really out of time here. This incident is, for want of better words, a litmus test for these governments on the front of anti-corruption initiative, isn't it?
They have several litmus tests. It's not
so are we still in the lab?
You know why? You know why? Because Nigeria looks like a conquered territory. These guys are they will keep doing what they're doing. Because at the back end of it, there are no repercussions. The president is in the UK now, and I give thumbs up to our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. Reno Omokri traveled from America just to quote and unquote harass the president, out of that place. And he was arrested. And they said, look, has the Queen ever left London? Why won't take him too far? We have never heard the Omonoba even visit a nearby clinic. Or if the Omonoba has any health challenge, if he ever has, everything is handled within
in-house.
The quote and unquote traditional doctors who have a history of having dealt with certain ailments. So these things are going to continue. Because it's not about them, it's about us. Like they say, all that evil needs to triumph is for good men
to keep quiet.
If you look at Nigeria, if you look at Nigeria, for instance, you would think that it's the Malami that should be promoting forensic audits.
Which a lot of persons have been calling for, including the NGF chairman.
So if this is happening, you can imagine the state of rot of Nigeria, because you are in trouble. If your gate man is the thief, he'll be helping you to look for what is missing. Meanwhile, he's the one who's...
Reverend Martins, I'm afraid this is where we're going to leave it, gentlemen. It's been a brilliant, very brilliant and incisive interaction here. Thank you so much, Barrister Obayiwana, for coming. I also want to thank Tony Abolo. We appreciate you for coming.
Our
Reverend Lumatins, yes, of course. Both on and off television. So thank you for coming. Okay, that's what we're leaving it with this discussion. We're back shortly to wrap it up. Stay with us.